Hello, everybody. It's been a bumper period for vlogs, and I'm going to be trying to do a lot more for you, but there's also going to be some more frivolous ones that I'm going to mix in. I know there's a kind of logistical problem because how can I blend the more political ones which will appeal to my sort of core base with some of the fluffier ones? But I mean, for a little bit of light-hearted entertainment, look out for some of the fluffier ones as well. Now, I wanted to talk about Donald Trump's inauguration to carry on the discussion. I was talking a little bit about it in the 2 vlogs I did concerning Nigel Farage, because there's a kind of a crossover there, because a lot of the things that are going on with Trump directly impact this country. Talking about the UK, just wanted to mention 2 things that I forgot to mention when I was discussing Nigel Farage is Liz Truss was over there for the inauguration. So was Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, Nigel Farage, Lawrence Fox, Boris Johnson, and also Kate Hoey, who was a big Brexiteer but is actually from the Labour Party. But now she seems to be a kind of big Donald Trump supporter, which is rather interesting. Always found Kate Hoey very bearable, even though she was Labour. She didn't fall into that mould. She was more on the kind of Galloway side of Labour. And so she was over there. I mean, I know that group that I just mentioned are real hardcore Zionists, so maybe that's kind of part of it. But yes, so a lot of Brits were over there, a lot of Brits really excited. And as I was saying, one of the key things that I'm really excited about that Donald Trump has done so far is pushing back against net zero. I believe he's genuine on this one. And I don't think he's going to backtrack. He's always talked very concisely and sensibly about why this is a brain-dead policy. And for some reason, out of all the countries in the world, Ed Miliband and this Labour government seem more gung-ho about pursuing this insanity, this economy-ending policy. And and there's not enough pushback on it in the UK currently, but I think that as soon as Trump withdraws from the Paris Accord, I think he already signed his executive order in that vein, the better it will be, because it will sort of create momentum for the rest of the world to follow. Everyone always follows America, don't they? And I think in this case, it'll bring a lot of impetus to all the movements who are pushing back and say, no, this thing's crazy. I mean, like I say, for the UK to be going so gung-ho on this is like teaspoons off the Titanic, even for people who may believe that there's a climate crisis, right? I leave it open for you guys, whether you believe there's a man-made climate crisis that's mainly based on carbon, or whether you don't believe there's any problem in the world at all, or whether you're somewhere in between where you think man is doing a lot of damage and something needs to be done, but the kind of people that are pushing net zero are corrupt globalists who are doing it for control purposes and to make more money. I've got something to say to all of you. The UK is such a tiny contributor that it's going to make no difference either way. If you do want to tackle climate because you believe in it, you've got to tackle China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, India, all the biggest polluters. And when China are building, umpteen coal-fired power stations, we're opening umpteen a day, and so are India, then all this nonsense that we are being made to suffer with extremely high bills, pensioners freezing, getting it more and more hard for people to drive cars, forcing people towards electric cars, it's insanity. Not to mention that every one of these policies, like the electric cars, the wind farms, the solar panels, come with a huge range of baggage. All these this is not a vlog on climate change, I really should draw this to an end, but all these kind of things are so detrimental to the environment, just in a different way, that they actually are, like what they say, a false economy. They actually damage escalation rather than reducing it. And I think Trump can definitely put a stop to that. So as I said in my other vlog, the release of the January 6th was an absolute bare minimum of what he should be doing. So that was good. And definitely the common sense agenda, the anti-woke agenda, all perfectly good. Now, while he was signing the executive orders, he said a couple of things which piqued my interest. He was asked about Gaza and Israel. And on one occasion, he said, it's their war. It's nothing to do with us, their problem. It's their war. And that's kind of good, because it means America will be stepping away from that conflict, but obviously still a huge amount of foreign aid going into Israel and also Egypt to stay on Israel's side, blah, blah, blah. That was kind of good. But what also was very interesting, bear in mind, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, and his father, who were both at the inauguration, well, obviously he would be married to Ivanka, but his father, who Trump pardoned, I've talked about him before, he was involved in corruption and vote rigging for the Democrat Party. They're both in construction. And Jared Kushner was doing talks where he was encouraging people to already start sort of putting forward offers for beachfront property in Gaza. So obviously there's an idea of converting prime real estate there into something a little bit more glamorous, than Gaza, right? So Trump was saying during his signing that, oh, well, Gaza's being destroyed. Have you seen the pictures? Well, there's nothing there, and that so much could be done with that. I mean, it's great, fantastic weather. It's a wonderful location on the sea, and he's kind of like priming people for, Gaza should be transformed, right? And then he puts in there, the people who weren't running it very well anyway. So he's planting in people's minds that, well, it's a disaster area. It could be run better. It could be more prosperous. There's so much you can do with that property, high property value, blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of people will be very, very upset. They'd rather have, maybe that's not the idea most people have in mind for it, right? But it does open the door for what Trump might have in mind because of certain people like Miriam Adelson donating and the links with the Kushner family and his own links to casinos and hotels. They might have some ideas for Gaza which wouldn't be in line with what a lot of people would be at all happy with, right? For different reasons. We won't get into all that. Then he said another thing discussing about the California wildfires. And he mentioned that during his first presidency between 2016 or 2017, when he was actually inaugurated, and 2020, he'd secured the Olympics for LA and the World Cup football tournament for America. And he said, he thought at the time it's pity that he secured these, but he won't be president when they happen because, of course, he was anticipating he would have finished his second term now. But he said, it's worked out really well that I'm now going to be president when all this is happening. And I thought, that was probably the plan all along. So they could weave this exciting narrative of the comeback kid, the biggest political comeback in history, which I don't think it is. He never went away for one moment. And the reason Donald Trump never went away as a force is his base were always there. And there is a huge constituency for the kind of things he's talking about because the anti-sort of mass immigration, the tighter control on the border, the anti-net zero, the cheaper energy, the make America great. There's so many policies he has that appeal to a massive amount of people. So his core base had gone nowhere. He continued with the rallies. In fact, the alternate media, particularly once Elon Musk came along, got stronger and stronger and stronger and were all continuing to pump his message. So when the media said he was down and out and he came back, the media don't have a clue what's going on because they're in their bubble, right? So I don't think he was ever down and out. But let's get back to LA. So as soon as I thought, the Olympics are going to be in LA, I don't know if it's next time, anyway, within the next 4 years, right? Where they're going to be held. Is that the reason those fires took place? To clear all that property so they can build an Olympic village and a stadium and because those people can't get insurance now, can they? In fact, many of those insurance companies had cut the policies prior to these fires even happening. It'll be so expensive to live there now because of the property prices and everything has to be rebuilt. How easy for someone to scoop in, say, we'll buy up all the land, turn it into Olympic Village. So my conspiracy mind was running AWOL when he mentioned that about the Olympics. I thought it was kind of interesting. I think there's going to be a part 2 to this, don't you? I can feel a part 2 coming on.